Okay, I'm going to give a demo of TwinStrata, and I'm going to show that this is the main screen of the TwinStrata solution. It's got a really nice screen, opening screen, because basically what it does is it allows us to see the size of our total cache right here. It says total cache. It's going to show us what the dirty cache is, which means how much hasn't been written to STAS, and then it's going to show us a blue bar, which is active replication. Those are kind of the most important, that's the most important information on this screen. There are some other things that show you cloud transfer and iSCSI host transfer. It's interesting, but it's not the most informative, little cryptic. But this is the most important to tell you whether or not the TwinStrata is working. You'll have an incremented size other than 0 when it's dirty, and then you'll see a blue bar across here which says active replication. And then what you'll see here is you'll see a read hit and a write hit to tell you how much is actually cached locally versus having to be pulled from the cloud. All right, so I'm going to show a file server that I've created a iSCSI connection from to the TwinStrata, which is then connected to STAS. This shows a 10 terabyte STAS volume that I was able to create using TwinStrata. So I went into the volumes page, and then I created this volume by clicking the plus, and it allows you to select the volume name, the size, and the policy that I've created. I created a policy called file server. I'm then able to map it to the client, and you'll see a lot. These are all self-discovered, and so I was able to map this one to this W2K8-TwinStrata TS-file server 1. And so this file server is now has a 10 terabyte volume available to it over this iSCSI connection, and it shows you this iSCSI connection that it's mapped to here. Okay, so going back to my file server, I clicked on the iSCSI initiator, and this has all been mapped out already, but I went in and I added the discovery by putting in 10.130.10.75, which is the TwinStrata. It comes up and it allows me to connect specifically, because I've already mapped it out on the TwinStrata, to the volume. It's created the volume, and now I've got a mapped volume here. I've gone into to my disk management on the server, and when I initially connect the TwinStrata, this just shows up as a partition. It doesn't show up as anything that that's already been formatted. So I'm going to have to, format it and do all the normal things, but it shows up as a physical disk because it's using iSCSI. Okay, so on the file server, I've created my folders, PH1819 and SP8725. I've created the permissions that I would normally create for users to access these directories, which would be just me, and then of course there was Sanjay. Then I'm going to go back over to my workstation, and I'm going to map a drive to it. All right, so now I'm connected to my drive, and it's going to show up as a drive. So now what I've got is I've got a client that's connected to a file server, as you normally would. in a Windows environment, for file sharing, which has a drive that's been mapped to the TwinStrata, which is sending all my files now up into the cloud. And I'll go in here and I can see that I've got, some files and things like that. So I would be able to go over to my files that I have local and then copy those files over to this file server. And what I'm going to see is that it's going to increment on the main dashboard. It's going to show that it's copying these files up into STAS through the TwinStrata. And you can see that it's got 0.3 gigabyte of data that it's now replicating into the cloud. So there's a number of ways, though, in which you can actually connect. You can connect it like the architecture that I just showed, which is the TwinStrata connected to a file server and then clients connected to the file server. Or you can connect the clients directly to the TwinStrata using CIFS or NFS, or you can connect the clients directly to the file to the TwinStrata using an iSCSI connection. So there's multiple ways in which to actually connect the TwinStrata to connect the clients to the TwinStrata. I prefer the architecture of having a file server where the clients are connected to the file server, and the file server is then mapped to the TwinStrata, which is then mapped to the STAS solution.